scenario could come on just in the spirit of fairness, all about the fairness. However, we didn't get a response, and that's why we had the Democratic Party chair on this morning with some pretty interesting comments. Let's go ahead and get right into the KUAM News Link Zoom room where we have just some buddies of mine standing by just to talk. We got Beauty Camacho, who was regular on the after party the last couple elections. Thanks for joining us, Beauty, and good morning.
Happy. Thank you.
Peter Santos, who again was one of our regulars in the after party during the election. Peter, thank you. He's joining us from Las Vegas, guys.
Happy day, Chris. Happy day, everybody.
Are there any odds on the Lou and Felix race over there in Vegas yet?
I'm still looking for the bookmaker that is listing that, but I haven't found him yet.
All right. And then my good buddy, Will Sparkinson. Will, I think it's funny that you came on when the cannabis rules and regs were signed.
I know, right?
Right, yeah.
Kismet.
Right.
Happy day, everyone.
Good morning. So I guess, can we start with Beauty, just ladies first? Just your thoughts on, wow, I mean, we went from who's going to run against Lou, is it going to be the congressman, to, okay, Camacho Adam making that big announcement kind of out of nowhere. So just what are your thoughts on Decision 2022 and kind of some of the races that we're seeing shape up?
Sure. Thanks for having me. You know, it's really refreshing to be able to see that there are different options for the community, because in my opinion and my perspective, the community is going to vote for whoever is able to make them more comfortable. You know, who is going to bring up that level of in assisting them with providing legislature or anything that, you know, that the government can provide on how they can live a more comfortable life. And that's one of the reasons why politicians like to talk about pain points all the time, is because those, when they talk about those pain points, right, it triggers emotions within the community. But in reality, as a voter, we're going to have to vote with who's going to make us more comfortable, because we don't want to live in comfort. Nobody wants to suffer, you know, and that's why the majority of the island doesn't really, you know, they can't define themselves as a Democrat or as a Republican, because there are different things that our leaders are saying that they can agree on and not necessarily always disagree on as well. So I'm usually playing like the neutral point up until election day, like I've mentioned before, where I like to just, you know, research a little bit more into their platforms before election days. So I'm looking forward to see what we, you know, in the coming months, what they're going to be representing and what they're going to be talking about.
Peter?
Yeah, Chris, I was living off of Guam when Governor Camacho had his 2 terms. So I'm not that familiar with, I guess, his performance, what the Democratic Party release came out with. So I don't have, you know, much to base on. But what, from my understanding and what I've realized, is that elections are a lot like the stock market. And like Beauty was saying, it's going to be decided on emotions. So I think whoever can reach out to the people and, again, like what Beauty was saying, was make them feel comfortable. But also, too, is the fact that whenever we're inside some type of emergency or crisis, like whether it's war or whatever, people are reluctant to switch leadership, whether it's good or bad, because they're reluctant to see someone come in and have to learn from day one. Now, the difference is Governor Camacho, former Governor Camacho, was a previous governor. So it's not like, you know, Michael St. Nicholas, who's never been a governor. So I think the crisis that we're in, the ongoing crisis, whether real or fabricated, is going to play a significant role in how people vote. But then again, it's also about emotions. It's like the stock market.
The
stock market is very emotional.
Pete, if you talk to people who play politics, you know, the number one thing they say when they talk about a candidate is, how does that candidate make you feel? And I think that's kind of what you were hitting on, Beauty. Will, I know you got some things to say. Let's hear it.
Well, in terms of interviews, that might have been the greatest faceplant of interviews I've ever seen. Just what a disaster that was. Like, I could see that Governor Camacho is very rusty, and he needs to get his tap dancing shoes ready because his dancing performance was terrible there.
Well,
I
I
mean,
got to
what-
interject, and just to support this point, I think it's a little weird that and Juan, I know you're watching, but I'm not voting for a thruple. You know what I mean? If it's Camacho Ada that are running, then let Governor Camacho talk. And I think that down the road, there's going to have to be some separation between the party chair and whatever Phil Flores is doing in the interview and these candidates. So when I ask a question to a candidate, I'm asking a question to a candidate. I'm not expecting a party chair to come in and start blocking all. You know what I mean? It just.
Exactly. Let him put his big boy pants and stand on his own. Like some of the speaking of Juan Benito, he thank him for some of these talking points. One of the things that really stood out to me is what Juan Benito said was, if you vote for what you got, if you do the same thing again, if you vote for what you got, expect what you're going to get again. And so, I mean, let's talk about what we could expect again under some Republicans. We want to talk about federal funds. We're going to see probably more shady gura stuff from a Republican administration. We're going to see more infighting over the port. Don't forget that famously the Calvos and the Camachos hate each other. The Camachos had Mary Torres in there, and they had all sorts of drama over the port. So if you think that's going to disappear because they had one big kumbaya session, that ain't going to happen. And then you want to see how the Republicans are going to handle crime. They're going to handle it the same way they've always handled crime, with brute force and incarceration. They had 16 years of that. They had the Mandania Mask Force and everything, and they just didn't drop crime. They just made the price of drugs skyrocket. You think about what they did. They blew up the deficits. And here's the thing this is the thing that really grinds my gears about the Republicans when they're in charge. Like, we got all this federal money and they complain about how it's being used, but how did the Republicans act when they were in charge? You know what they did? They took all their bad decisions, their incompetence, and their corruption, and they put it on a massive credit card. They put it on the bond market. They put all their bad decisions on the backs of our children. So no, I've seen that episode before. I don't really want to see it again.
Beauty, I wanted to talk about this, and Tony had made a big deal about Governor Camacho and the issues he had with President Biden's election, and they really went into it. But, I kind of feel like I don't care about President Biden and these national issues. And when I hear these bigwig Democrats and these Republicans talk about it, it kind of makes me feel, and we're seeing it reflected in the comments. People are saying, hey, what about Guam? What about Guam? Never mind about President Biden. So, when we have Governor Lou talking about Biden and all the national Democrat stuff, and then you've got, Governor Camacho talking about all the, national conservative talking points. I mean, do you feel like we're left out of the conversation? Does it matter to you as a voter?
Oh, definitely. Because whenever I explain to people where Guam is, I'm like, we're U.S. citizens, but we aren't able to vote for our president. So it's just like, oh, okay, then. So what about it? Like, what about Guam? What's so special? And we're like, well, we do care for our people. But when we think about our leaders, it's like, who is going to continue doing that? And then there's the Republicans who adore tradition, right? Where are we going to find that middle ground to it? And I'm thankful for our leadership, in whether they're president all the way to, our representatives here on Guam. I'm very thankful because it's a very brave thing to do, to step in to be a public servant is just, that takes a lot out of your life, and being the face of the public and representing Guam. And it takes a lot from a person. So I come from a standpoint of admiration for anyone who decides to even run for leadership. But I think we do need to make some smarter decisions in the future, as Mr. Will mentioned, because I'm one of the people who are the outcomes of that past leadership, you know? So I want my children to be empowered in the future. My kids are 10 and 7. So I want to be able to elect leaders now who are going to empower them to pretty much take responsibility for their lives, but to also provide a government and a community that they can trust and that they can feel empowered to build their lives upon. I want them to stay here on Guam. You know, I don't want to have people, or I don't want my children to have to feel like they need to flee from the island because it's not safe, or because the drug issue is horrible. Like, I love it here. I want to stay here. I want to live here on Guam, and I want a leader who is going to keep my confidence in that.
You know what I thought was interesting was, and I don't know if it was part of his prepared remarks or what, but I noticed Governor Camacho spent a lot of time talking about social issues, youth suicide, right? Obviously, the impact of drugs on the island. Are these social issues, right, that we're struggling with? To you as a voter, are they important to you? And what do you want to hear candidates say about these issues?
Very important. As one of our assist trainers here on island, we have it's a problem that we have to, and that goes back down to the comfortability and the emotions, right, that we were talking about earlier. Because when people are feeling like they have no one to turn to, they hide themselves deep in their minds and their hearts, and they can't figure out what, you know, maybe it's a financial burden, maybe it's a familial burden. But when we don't have the resources for them to even just pick up, to have that confidence to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need help, because family can't help, or a partner or friends can't help, we want to be able to, you know, put together those resources and strengthen the resources that we already have. And the social issues are the drug, like when Mr. Will was just talking about the drugs, you know, like you can see that smirk in my face, because it's a problem. It's horrible. And we need to be able to, like for me, I want to see who's tackling the drug issues, and I want to see who's building our schools. I want to see who's putting the funding towards our children and towards the future. And we as adults, we're the ones making the voting decisions, but I also like to check in with the teenagers and the kids and be like, okay, who's not just showing up to the funerals, who's going to who's going there and talking to the people who are actively working to help make your life better, who's talking to the counselors, who's talking to the nurses, who's talking to the teachers, who's not just, you know, don't just show face at a point of someone's life. Right. Go there to fill themselves and trying to educate themselves, trying to build their businesses. Those are the turning points on where they can pivot their life.
Thank you, Beauty. You're kind of lagging. Peter, I wanted to take this.
Be more putting it. That's the type of for my politicians.
Thank you, Beauty. Pete, Congressman Michael St. Nicholas. I got a friend who's, I mean, he's in the know. You know, he rubs elbows with all the political consultants. Sent me a message this morning. Said it's a done deal. Congressman St. Nicholas, anticipate the announcement. He found a running mate. Man, you know, I thought Camacho Ada, Leon Guerrero Tenorio was going to be a good matchup, but with Congressman St. Nicholas in the mix, I mean, this thing could just go all kinds of crazy. And I know you're a big fan of the congressman, so I wanted to get your opinion on it.
Well, it took him a while to find a running mate, someone who was willing to put their name on the line. Likewise, I've been hearing a lot of some of the same chatter that you have, even with respect to the Calvos and the Camachos. Which one, whether it was going to be Eddie or Felix who was going to run. You know, both of them lived off the legacy of their fathers. And so those guys had sort of an advantage, right? Well, when it comes to Michael St. Nicholas throwing his hat in, You know, you always have to chop the wood pile that's in front of you and then worry about the other wood pile later on. So I think the Leon Guerrero Tenorio campaign needs to shift focus on him as soon as he announces officially.
Well, wow, Pete, that was way more tame than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, going back to questioning whether Biden was the duly elected president of the United States, that truly shocked me. You know what? I don't try to be hyperbolic or anything, but I agree with Tony Babato when he said that should be front page news. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that got caught on to CNN or Fox News or something, you know? My take home when he said that was it really made me question his judgment as the leader of Guam. It really did, you know, as a leader. Because the thing is, think about when the pandemic happened and we had the military ships come in and Trump was, you know, sending federal funds to Guam. Because remember, this, like the Leon Guerrero administration didn't just cooperate with the Bidens, they also cooperated with the Trump administration. You know, she was willing to work with the other side.
In fact, I remember during the campaign, she says something like, "Whatever I got to do, I'll do it." Right in terms of working with Trump, which is a far cry from what Governor Camacho said.
She welcomed the military with open arms and treated them right and did the right thing. And the thing is, you got to remember whether Felix Camacho believes he's president or not. Joe Biden has quite a bit of influence on what happens here to Guam. So I question his decision-making and his judgment if he doesn't see that maybe if you don't agree, you swallow your whistle on that and do what's best for the island.
Good point. Beauty, I wanted to get your thoughts on the congressman. I mean, he said he's seriously considering, and we had heard that all that was missing from the equation was a running mate. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see in the next few days if an announcement comes down. But just your thoughts on the congressman running for governor.
Like I mentioned earlier, it's great to have options, to give the community the options that they want. And the more options that we have, we'll be able to gather that data on, you know, who the community finds more confidence in. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to be talking about. I'm trying to, you know, pay more attention to the platforms, but I also want to advise people to pay attention to the ads. Who is putting out the, who's studying, you know, because it's going to be a business, right? You're going to be running your campaign like a business, and you want to get yourself in front of as many people as possible. So if that's, you know, just something to remind the community about, if you don't like that particular candidate, like, just turn the ads off, you know, and make sound decisions towards your life. And again, it goes back to the emotion. Who is making you feel good? Who is making you feel confident about it? And I'm interested to see how he will proceed with his campaign, because the ads are something like I enjoy tasteful ads, but I also pay attention to the ads of the cattiness, like all that fighting and stuff. It's not my favorite, but I try to see who is being respectful, because if you're respectful to your opponent, then you're going to be respectful to those who don't necessarily agree with you. And we need leaders like that.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, Beauty, right now, that when it comes to Congressman San Nicolas, Governor Leon Guerrero, Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, and Governor Felix Camacho, Senator Tony Add is pretty respectful, but I don't see that respect. They do not respect each other at all. I mean, it is what it is, right? But yeah, I mean, the congressman, Governor Lou, they've definitely, they hate each other. Let's just be honest. And so when you talk about the respect, I don't think we're going to get a respectful campaign at all. And I don't care. I like it when it's juicy and dirty. And I think that what I don't like is when we start trying to control what is said. And I mean, it's a free island. You can like what you like and I can like what I like, but I'm just concerned about when we have people who are running for office making a determination on what is dirty campaigning, because a lot of times what they call dirty campaigning is just uncomfortable campaigning for them because you're bringing up things that they did and they just don't like it. And so they say, oh, it's dirty. So, Pete, I saw you raising your hand.
Yes, I mean, aside from all the theatrics and the campaigning that's going on, one of the things that, is really going to make a huge difference is whether or not the Republican ticket has opposition. Because then we know what happens when there's two in the Democrats and one party or one governor and vice or lieutenant governor candidate in the Republicans. The Republicans are going to vote for the Democrat who they feel is the weaker candidate. So whether they feel that San Nicolas is weaker or Leon Guerrero would be weaker, they'll swing the election that way.
Will, do you think go ahead, Will?
Yeah, well, looking at this MSN stuff, I know exactly what's going to happen. Like him announcing just confirmed all the conspiracy theories I was already thinking.
There's a conspiracy, Will. What conspiracy
yes,
are you smoking this morning?
Yeah, you want to see my Machiavellian hat? Okay, let me break it down for you. What Mike San Nicolas is going to do is he's working with the Republicans. That's why you had the whole pussyfooting with James Moylan on whether or not he was going to run. What Mike was really trying to figure out was did he have enough cachet in Congress to dodge the investigation? If he didn't, he was going to run for governor. And if he did, he was going to run for Congress. And so that was why there was a holding pattern among Republicans. But now, if he's going to announce, he's figured he can't dodge the investigation. And like, I have the greatest amount of respect for how cutthroat Mike San Nicolas is. And Mike San Nicolas is not going to run for governor unless he finds a win-win situation. This is the win-win for Mike San Nicolas. He's going to run in the primaries as a Democrat against Leon Guerrero. He's going to do his best to take all of her accomplishments and say none of it was her, all of it was the federal government. And he is going to play as dirty as possible to sully the Leon Guerrero name. And what Mike's thinking is, if I win, I get to go up against a weaker Republican field. Like you saw that interview today, Mike would run circles around those guys. And the other thing he sees is, well, if I also pull off the impossible, or if I don't make it, and the other team wins, the Republicans win, they'll be so grateful they'll give me a nice cushy landing spot running GVB where he could junk it internationally or something. And so this is a win-win for good old Miguel to run for governor, because if he wins, he gets to be governor. If he loses, he gets to save space. He gets to save face from his scandals in Congress while landing in a cushy spot under a friendly Republican administration. Because you got to remember, the Felix Camachos, the Camacho family backed San Nicolas. So the money is deep and the ties are strong.
Let me give it to you a little simpler. So Mike San Nicolas is going to run for governor with whoever his running mate is. He's going to just pull out all the stops and just throw all the mud.
Scorched earth. And you know what this does too?
And then
it allows the Republicans to go out and be like, we're going to run a clean campaign because Mike did all the dirty work for them.
Where do the black helicopters come in, Will?
After the Republicans win and they give Cortec that contract.
Beauty, just I guess we can end with you if you want.
And can I say, before if we're gonna end, can I just say something about Felix Camacho's most significant accomplishment, because this kills me. In the 8 years he was in, the most significant accomplishment that he was able to do was the accreditation of the hospital, and then he thanked Leon Guerrero for it. The most impressive thing that happened in his administration was done by Leon Guerrero. If that's not a ringing endorsement to not elect these guys again, I don't know what is.
Thank you, Will. Man, I missed you, dude.
I missed you too, brother.
Right on. Hey, Pete, keep your phone handy because we're starting up the after party, and I just wanted to, break bread with you guys. Love having you. We're going to give Beauty the last word here, Beauty. I like what you're saying.
Thank you. Honored to. Thanks, Will. That's innovative, and we'll be able to also in a little bit more, because When you're able to recognize those things, other people are going to recognize patterns as well from some of our other candidates, right? So that's what I'm going to be looking for. And I hope that the community can recognize patterns as well, whether they're good or bad, and just, make the decisions that are going to continue to empower them, whether they're Republican or Democrat or they don't have a side. It's just, especially for our new voters, like our younger voters, I'm really hoping that they can understand the power that they have within their votes, because it's going to be so pivotal for our island, for them to make decisions within this year. And for our elderly, who's gonna keep you comfortable, and who's going to, again, empower you to make healthier, wealthier decisions, because we want to enjoy this island lifestyle that we have here. And we can't do that when we're going to have leadership who is just conniving or, isn't transparent. So that's all I have to say on that, really.
Thank you, Beauty. Thank you, Pete. Will, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, good talk there. 809. Let's go through some of the comments, guys. And remember, we're doing Decision 2022, whether you like it or not. It is coming. And a big part of Decision 2022 is my favorite part, is the after party. And so we're going to be dusting that off and bringing it back this election. I'm very, very excited for it.